Hi, I'm Felipe Torres Medina, and as it was originally reported on Telemundo, no estés solo con Jake Hogan. Do not be alone with Jake Hogan.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Hello, Kogan Nation. This is me, Jake Hogan, and you are watching or listening to Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. I'm so glad you're here. I'm really, really excited that you could be here. We have a great show for you. If you have a message and you want to email me directly, please email me at dbawjk@gmail.com. Tell me your compliments, your criticisms, your suggestions, and really, really would love any viewer mail suggestions where you have a question, a life question that you can ask me and my guest, whoever that guest is that week. That would be really helpful if you send me some interesting and fun questions. Again, that email address, dbawjk@gmail.com. We have a great guest today. His name is Felipe Torres Medina, and he is a writer, comedy writer for Colbert. Really smart, funny, interesting guy who's just written a very interesting book called America, Let Me In, A Choose Your Immigration Story. So it's a comedy look at immigration, and he is an immigrant from Colombia. He's got a great perspective on this country, a very interesting perspective on growing up in Colombia. It was great to talk to him because I feel like I've lost touch a little bit with what it's like to be an immigrant. I feel like I'm an American, sure, but I'm not that far away from my immigrant grandfather and grandmother. But I also don't feel like I have the spirit of those people who left the Ukraine with nothing and came to this country to build a life. Like, I showed up when I was born. There's a pretty good life waiting for me. And I'd like to figure out if I could have a little bit more grit and a little bit more toughness, a little bit more discipline to be more like those ancestors. And also just check out what Felipe's experience is on what it's like to be here now in this very turbulent time to be an immigrant in this country, how we treat immigrants and talk about immigrants, both legal and illegal, has been very disheartening, I would say, to people like me. But we'll hear his perspective and his comedy and about his book right after this.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Pleasure to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you.
And I have done, I would say, a modicum of research.
Okay.
I wouldn't say a fair amount, but a modicum of research. And you have a very interesting story. But I mean, I'm first and always interested in the comedy side of people.
Yeah.
And then I'm talk to the human side, because
Sure.
who gives a shit about the human
No,
side?
that
When
doesn't
comedy,
matter.
Exactly. So you come to comedy by way of UCB. What's your like home base for comedy?
Yeah, I think UCB was my kindergarten, my comedy
Right.
kindergarten. So yeah, I moved to the States in 2013.
Right.
I spent some time in Boston, did some open mics there, kind of testing it out. But I was really into like sketch and improv, and I was excited to do that. And so when I was done with my master's at Boston University, I moved to New York to basically pursue comedy there and do UCB.
Masters in
Screenwriting.
screenwriting.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as a professional writer,
Yes.
do you look back on that master's in screenwriting and say, was that time and money well spent?
Well, it did allow me to come to the United States.
Right.
So for that, yes. And I learned some really good stuff. Like, I think the biggest thing, my wife is also a television writer. And I think the thing I tell her all the time is like, the biggest thing, because I wrote a bunch of screenplays and they're fine. They're
Right.
not very good. But it was my first time trying to
Doesn't
write
mean they're not
screenplays.
good. Fine is fine.
Yeah, some of them are bad.
Yeah, right,
And there's
okay,
like
all
two
right,
that are
right.
fine. But what I tell my wife is like the biggest thing that the masters gave me was I have a deadline. I have to finish writing this
Right.
screenplay by the end of the weekend.
Exactly.
And so you just sit down and you write.
Right.
And that is like such a huge skill that I feel like a lot of people who are writers or call themselves writers are like, I started this thing.
Right.
You know.
Well, I've been doing it for
Yeah.
40 years and still starting,
Yes.
sitting down at the computer and doing the thing is still very hard.
It's the hardest part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks. Okay, so Felipe,
Yes.
you wrote this great book about what it's like to be an immigrant in
Yes.
this country. Okay, so let's start with your immigrant story. How did you get here?
So I was born in Colombia in South America. I have to say that because my wife's from Missouri. And so when I say Colombia, Missouri, they're like, oh, yeah, just like a 4-hour
But to be
drive
fair,
from
the
Kansas City.
first thing when somebody says Colombia, I don't necessarily think Missouri.
That's true.
I think of the movie studio.
Right.
I think of the District of.
And British.
Columbia.
Yeah,
And then at some point I go to your Columbia.
Yes.
And way down on the list, after Hannibal and other places in Missouri, St. Louis, do I reach Columbia.
That's true. And I will say it's the only one that's spelled differently, the country. So I come from Colombia. I lived there most of my life till I was like 21. And then I came here to do my master's at Boston University. And then that was I had a student visa, and then I had a work permit, and then I got something that's called an Alien of Extraordinary Ability visa. Which it is a ridiculous name.
Sounds like superpower.
Yes,
yeah,
it sounds like you're in the X-Men. But it really is a visa to prove that you have a sort of talent. And it can be art, which is, I applied as a writer, but it can be like you're really good at soccer. Like what athletes get this, like sciences, academia.
Right.
Like,
I mean, this country has grown great and wonderful on the idea of taking people from around the world and pouring them into this country. I mean, I know we're stopping that.
Right.
I understand that's no longer the policy of this country, but
which is a bummer, because it is like truly a way to be like, are you excellent at what you do?
Right.
Come be here and be excellent here.
Right.
And that's what I did. And so I got my artist visa, and I was an alien of extraordinary ability. I worked I did a lot of comedy in New York, but I was also like working at an advertising agency. And then eventually I met my wife, or the woman who would become my wife, and we got married, and I have a green card.
What's the comedy scene like in Colombia?
My answer always about this is that it's getting so much better. When I left, it was so bad.
Okay.
It was just a couple of stand-up places, and I feel like the comedy was a lot of punching down. If there were like people doing sketches and characters, it was kind of like really racially dicey and like and sexist, and like just not very, it's just not very what made me laugh, I guess.
Right.
And there's only 2 television networks in Colombia that aren't like public access TV.
Right.
So there's not a lot of opportunities to like become a comedian or a writer in a like level that you would want. Not talking about fame, but talking about like making a living out of it.
Sure. Is Bogotá the big place?
Yeah, Bogotá is the capital, and so it's like
But I mean the big comedy scene place.
Yes,
yeah,
and now there's like a bunch of like comedy theaters, and younger people. I think millennials kind of like either came here and moved back, or saw the scene in other countries and were like, wait, we should just have that here.
Right.
And so now there's a scene, and it's really cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's growth. And so you obviously speak English very well, better than me.
Gracias.
Did you study it back in Colombia?
Yeah, I got really lucky. My mom finished her, she's a doctor. She's like an incredible surgeon.
Right.
And so she finished her studies in the UK when I was 3. So she took me there. And so English is my second language, but I learned English. I learned to read in English before I learned to read in Spanish, if that makes sense.
It does, but a lot of people, my son learned Spanish very early at 3, and then, he's great at languages, but he doesn't speak it as fluently because he doesn't use it all that much.
Yeah.
Were you able to use English in Colombia a lot?
Yeah, and so after we came back from England, I went to a school that was it was a Catholic school, and it was founded by American priests. So it was very much like you have to like keep doing your English, and most of our classes were in English, but your life is in Spanish. So you're living in both languages the whole time.
Fantastic. I'm surprised you don't have a little bit of tinge of an British accent.
I make mistakes with prepositions sometimes because they change prepositions a little bit.
You say math or maths?
I do say math because there's one.
Yes.
Right?
All right, I didn't know. I just I was not sure. All right. So you came here on this extraordinary alien business, and congratulations on that.
You.
I hope you have that certificate somewhere.
I have 3 stamps on my passport for the 3 visas that say alien of extraordinary ability.
And then you started doing stand-up. Now that's brave. That's a brave thing. So
what
kind of made you think, you know what? I'm this writer, But you know what I really need to do? I really need to get involved in the stand-up community.
In Boston.
In Boston, yeah, the toughest stand-up scene in the world.
Yeah, I think I just was like, I need to do something to, like, do comedy.
Right.
I was writing comedic scripts, but I was like, well, what I like late night television, I like sitcoms, and I looked at the careers of the people who had those jobs, and I was like, well, a lot of them started doing improv and sketch and stand up, and I was like, well, I should just try.
Right.
And I like watched a lot of stand up, and then I got on stage and was bad, like anyone who tries to do stand up.
Right.
And I'm glad I did it, and I still like will do some stand up sets in New York every once in a while.
Every now and then.
But I don't think I'm like a stand up. And I'm glad I did it to know that I'm not necessarily a stand up.
Do you hate watching yourself do stand up?
I don't hate it, but I'm like, it's clearly not what I have the most fun at. I'm
Right.
like, I look like I can write a great joke and deliver it.
Right.
I can deliver a joke, but I'm not like, I look at a great stand-up and I'm like, that person should be on that stage holding that microphone.
Yeah. I think that's just a skill that people develop. I just don't know that maybe you feel like you haven't. I certainly feel like I haven't gotten there yet. When I do
That's how
stand
I
up,
feel.
I look at myself and go like, what I thought I was doing was this. What I'm really doing is this. And it's like, oh, well, I think I'm smoother, more glib, a little bit more, even more handsome. There are things that are going on stage that are not actually happening in real life.
Yeah, I certainly don't notice the how many freaking I do.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, this is not good.
Right. Okay, so you did stand up, you come to New York, you go to UCB, and then how do you wind up at Colbert?
I did a lot of, I did improv there. I did sketch there. I got put on a house team for sketch at UCB. And I was also like writing satire and like humor for like McSweeney's and the New Yorker and like these humor publications that will do like what to me sometimes I'm like, well, this is just kind of like a sketch but narrated. Right. Or like from a first person perspective or whatever. So it was like a prose sketch. And so I was doing a lot of that. And you start to get the invites to the packets, and I got invited to submit.
So do you submit a McSweeney's thing in your packet? Is that what your packet is? Is it a New Yorker article and a McSweeney's thing? And
it was part of it. The packets, they ask you like do a full mono or do like 2 pages of monologue jokes and some sketches or whatever. Depends on the show.
Right.
But in the more recent ones, again, this was 5 years ago, but they started to ask like also include something like from your writing that is short. So don't give us your 60-minute pilot, but include some of your short writing that you think would be good. And so I think for that one, I included, for the Colbert one that got me hired, I included a McSweeney's piece that was my daily itinerary as a job stealing immigrant. And so I was like 6 a.m. wake up, like steal my roommate's job and stuff like that.
I've always wanted to write something for McSweeney's or the New Yorker and never tried, because I thought, these are fancy magazines. But it's
silly.
How you gonna get in? I have friends who do. I have friends who do cartoons for them. All that stuff. But somehow it feels like I'm a TV writer. I feel like I'm not as good as that. Like I've written movies and TV, but not the New Yorker.
Right. But I think the fun thing about that is that you can get away with disgracing the pages of the New Yorker with really silly stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's very funny shouts and murmurs and really adorable things. I mean, Steve Martin's written some hysterically funny things. But again, that's intimidating to me.
It's scary. Yeah.
All right. So you get how many times did you try to reach out to a job before you landed something great?
Countless, like so many.
You seem like, I'm glad to hear that, because you seem like the guy who was just like on a track for greatness, like just like from going to applying to great schools and getting in, and then going into the right comedy programs, getting in, and then writing for these great magazines, and then doing that, and then getting on Colbert, which is arguably the best of the talk shows.
Thank you so much. Tell the Academy. I think the biggest thing is like you are rejected all the time. I still submit to McSweeney's and the New Yorker, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I have this idea and it doesn't really fit the
Right.
show or like a screenplay. I'm just gonna write it, and I love it. I think it's the funniest thing I've ever written. Every time, like I'm gonna submit it. Like anytime I'm like, oh, this is actually good.
Right.
I'm like, this might be my best one. I'll
Right.
submit it, and they're like, hell no. You know. So it happens.
But that's
all the
okay.
time.
Once you're in the club and you submit something and they say not this one,
That-
it doesn't hurt as much as when you're not in the club.
That's true.
Yeah.
But no, I submitted to, I think at the time, every show that was accepting packets
Right.
before I got my job.
All right. So now let's go to your book,
Yeah.
which just came out, and it's I don't know anything about it except it's catching on like wildfire.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
America, Let Me In. Choose Your Immigration Stories.
Yes.
That's the
That's the
book?
title.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what's the rationale, the raison d'etre for writing your book?
Honestly, is that I was kind of tired of explaining my own immigration stresses
Mm-hmm.
to my very liberal and progressive friends during the first Trump administration.
Right.
Right? Because I think when you're an immigrant, it's kind of like the only thing you can ever think about. You know, even like I'm on a green card right now, which means
Right.
I'm a resident of the United States.
Mhm.
I'm here, like, this is my home and everything. And I'm like, it still feels tenuous.
Oh my God!
Like-
it should feel very tenuous right now.
Well, especially
people
right
are being
now.
shoved into vans.
Exactly.
I mean-
But even before the current
Yeah.
administration, it was like still like, well, yeah, but if I don't have like this is home, but I feel like I have to justify that it's home a lot rather
Okay.
than just, you know, if I were a citizen, it'd be like, well, I was born here,
Right.
you know,
And why aren't you a citizen?
because it's I'm processing it. I've applied.
Oh, okay. All right.
But and how dare my mother not be
Exactly.
presently here when I was born?
What's going on with that?
Yeah.
Didn't she know enough to have a tourist visa and just come here and
Yeah.
have you?
She's supposed to be a doctor. She's
I
supposed to
know.
be smart.
Smart, but
So I had a student visa and I had this work permit, but you know, it has a bunch of rules. It's
Mhm.
called OPT. And so I was in New York. This was 2015, surrounded by a bunch of like Bernie progressives and in the comedy world in New York.
Right.
And they were like, oh, but you went to school here. You're good, man.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
no,
Right.
you have no idea. Like, what are you talking
Right.
about? And so that happened, and then I got my O1, which is the Alien of Extraordinary Ability visa, and it was so weird. It was so absurd, right? Just starting from the title, right? Alien
Right.
of Extraordinary Ability. And the process was really complicated, and I had to explain to people, even like, and they're great. I love them, but I had to explain to my professors in college, like, I can't just go to LA and get a barista job
Right.
and then like, you know, write my screenplays and hope something gets made, like the path that so many people had or used to have. And so I kind of had to explain all these things, and I was like, I need to find a way to explain this, and I need to exercise it in the way that I do everything, which is comedy.
Right.
And I like try to do some stand-up bits about it and some sketches, and I kind of landed on this idea of like, what if I just write it down? But there's so many kinds of visas and there's so many paths, and so that's kind of what led me to this like interactive kind of like choose
your own adventure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Fantastic. Well, okay, so this show, Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan, is about really smart people like you
you.
coming on and helping me with my problems.
Mhm.
So fuck your problems. It's all about me.
Yeah. Well, that's
and
the American way.
That is the way. And my problem is, what am I taking for granted as an American, as somebody born here?
Yeah.
And like the same, like you were telling your friends, what's the problem? You're here. Like, what am I taking for granted about having the privilege of being born here and then assuming everything's great for everybody?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed about Americans, which is an asset, but also to their detriment,
Right.
is that Americans love comfort. Americans are very comfortable.
Right.
There's AC everywhere. Like you go to Europe in the middle of the summer, it's like, you know, I've never learned Fahrenheit. That's one of the things
Sure.
I'm like, I'm going to keep that from.
Celsius is fine.
Yeah. So like it's 38, 40 degrees Celsius, which is very, very hot.
Very hot.
and they're like, no, this is just the summer, and it's like,
Right.
you guys are, this is horrible. And Americans, that's one of the good things. But I think the other thing is Americans, the way that can manifest is any sign of discomfort, any sign of like things not going exactly catered to you. Americans can be a little bit like, well, someone has to fix this. And it's
Right.
like, no. And I think there's a beauty, and there's something that Americans miss out, and that you might be missing out, Jay, in like learning to be a little uncomfortable. You know?
My God. You're exactly right. I've lived from day one in great comfort. I've actually said this to my parents. Like if we were in the middle of Fiddler on the Roof, and we were in Anatevka, and we had to move because everybody's moving out of Anatevka, we wouldn't make it. Like we would just be, in their condo in Wilshire Boulevard, just sitting there waiting to die.
And I think that does give you a little bit of like restlessness in a good way, that I think sometimes I see that Americans miss a little bit. And another big thing with comfort, and it's different in LA and certain parts of the country, but language, learning to be a little uncomfortable because you don't speak the language in another part of the world, or in your own like city, but in a neighborhood that maybe you don't live in. It's actually like, oh, well, I'm going to learn to be a little uncomfortable with not knowing the language perfectly, and maybe not being understood perfectly, but still trying to communicate.
And going to a new culture and a new place and trying to absorb that difference is kind of fun and interesting.
Exactly.
It's the thing that we miss.
And messing up.
Yeah.
I think there's a beauty in messing up when you're in a different country.
I will say that, and that the modern world is making it a lot easier to like, I have Google Translate. I was in Japan, and I pulled over a taxi driver to try to explain where I wanted to go, could not communicate the fumfering way. And so I pulled out the Translate. I said it into the machine. It repeated out loud where we want to go. He said into the machine what he said. He repeated out loud in English what it was done.
But and I think that's super cool and great. I will say, like, even just trying, what I've discovered, especially here in the States, when you meet someone from a community that speaks another language and you attempt to speak the language, everyone's like, oh my God, this is great. Right. You're trying. And
I guess
that
so,
is
but
nice.
what about people who say burrito instead of burrito? Like, they're trying a little too hard.
They're trying a little too hard. And so it's a fine line.
Yeah. I can roll my R's a little bit.
That's a great roll.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was really good.
Newscaster style.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm an American, and I like to be comfortable. I don't want to press myself too hard for being discovered. What other things am I taking for granted? I used to take I'll tell you something. Again, I don't want to get too crazy political, but I used to take for granted the system of democracy that used to exist here.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. That was my next thing. A system that works.
Right.
I grew up in Colombia, and I love my country. And the way I speak about your home country is kind of like the way you speak about your family. And now I have a lovely family. I love my family, but it is kind of like you don't get to pick it, right? And there's a lot of stuff about your family that you're like, wow, if I had to pick a person, I would probably not pick a person with this trait.
Right.
And you can't do that with your family, and you can't do that with your home country. And so I love my country, but do you know how magic it is that you can grab a piece of paper, put it in an envelope, put a tiny sticker on it, and then it magically appears wherever you want it to go in the country?
Right.
That doesn't work in Colombia. Every time we try to mail anything, it got stolen or lost. It just does not work.
So how do you get a document from A to B?
You drive it there.
Okay.
Like, truly. And I mean, we were lucky that we were in Bogotá, which is the like administrative center. So no, the mail is not a thing in Colombia. You get courier services, like, it doesn't work. And so, like, the fact that there is a system that works, that you can trust, that you can be like, well, the rules say this, therefore it won't happen. that's something that you guys really took for granted in the past.
We really did.
You know,
We really did.
to
And now
disastrous consequences.
Exactly. Now it's becoming very clear that the rules weren't rules. They were just sort of ideas, norms,
Right.
that customs that people were
Exactly.
keeping. And sometimes you apparently don't have to keep the customs.
Exactly. And so like stuff like that, and like even at the basic level of the mail, but a little bit like the belief in consequences. You know, Colombia, beautiful country, pretty violent
Right.
in its history, and also pretty oligarchic in its
Right.
history. Like it's always been kind of like the same group of rich, like lighter skinned Latin people who have owned most of the land and they govern and whatever. And you see people who have rebelled against the system suffer those consequences, even though they might be right or wrong, and their actions might not be like the best. But also when you see like, oh, this guy is a corrupt politician, he's been caught, nothing happens, you know.
Really?
There's a trial, and then, you know, oh, he'll do house arrest maybe because, you know, he's old. And then, oh, actually, well, he's behaved so well during the house arrest. So, you know, we said 20 years, but what if it's 2 years and he's done?
Wow.
You know?
Well, I mean, I'm getting to experience a little bit of that myself.
It's fun. It's exciting. I think it's a little bit like we've seen the movie.
Yeah.
You know, we like Latin Americans or people who lived under less effective democracies.
Sure.
We've all seen the movie. So now it's like when the Red Wedding aired and the people who had read the books and everyone was like, oh my God, the Red Wedding. And everyone who's read the books was like, yeah, it's pretty crazy, huh? It's like,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel right now.
I'm hoping that we can reclaim
I hope so too.
some bit of normalcy, some bit of rule keeping, some bit of even more stringent laws that would bend this country back into shape. But where has America let you down?
America,
And, like when you came before
Yeah.
you got here, like what were you thinking it would be, and what is it not?
I thought there would. I mean, I think the lie of the meritocracy is even before the current, like everyone gets fired if they support DEI. I think I thought a little bit more of meritocracy as a thing that existed in America, and I think it certainly exists more than in other countries, I think, but it is something that's like, it is so much of who you know, and
Right.
it is so much of, like, especially in the arts, you know.
Right. Are Colbert's brothers and sisters all on the payroll over there?
No. But, you know, that kind of stuff. And I think a thing that sometimes disappoints me of Americans and America in general is a little bit of a lack of curiosity. Because I think when Americans are curious, they're great. Americans really like, you see American tourists anywhere in the world, they're like, ooh, tell me more, to the point where sometimes Europeans are like, ugh, these Americans won't stop asking questions, you know? But when Americans choose to be incurious, it's like one of the most frustrating things in the world. It's like, well, I don't like that, and I just don't want to do that. And it's like, you're being a brat.
Right.
You're acting like a toddler.
It is. You're describing 50% of this country.
Right.
My ancestors came here. They were rugged. My grandfather came here alone on a ship when he was 12 from Ukraine. You know, I have none of that. Like, there's not even a sense of any of that desperation / adventure / will to like make something, strive something. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and moved to Los Angeles when I was 5, and I have not moved from this town. Like, I still live in the same 5-mile radius of where I was born. Like, there's no sense of like, there's a great wide world out there and I got to conquer it.
Yeah.
But you have that.
Well, I have a, like, what I have like a little fire up my ass, I think is what it is. And I think also the immigration system now, particularly when I was getting this artist visa, you have to show achievement to the government to be able to stay. So I was like, well, if what I want is to do this, which is write television, write film in the United States, because it is the best place to do it, then I need to do things. I just need to do them. There are no non-negotiables here.
Right.
So I need to prove it to the government. Therefore, I need to actually do them. And so there is a like, I love not doing anything. I love just playing video games and, you know, reading my book. I was reading Frankenstein recently, and the Dr. Frankenstein, like, sure, he's a scientist and he built the monster, spoiler alert, I guess. But he doesn't have a job. He's just a nobleman.
Right.
And so he like went to college and did the monster thing, and then he left, and all he does is like hang out at Lake Geneva and read. And I'm like, that's what I want for myself.
Yes.
Know? But obviously the situation of me moving here kind of created that sense of like, I have to just keep doing things. And I would counter, you're a writer.
Right.
You do have that sense of adventure. You're doing something that's not like a stable career. You're doing something that's not necessarily like, you're not a lawyer, not a doctor.
But my dad's a writer. So Nepo baby.
Nepo baby,
so
yeah.
slide right in like, okay, I see it's possible. Like, again, my sense of adventure didn't have to be up here to sort of slide into there.
But I guess, yes. What I would say is everyone has that sense of adventure. I think it's circumstantial.
Right.
What leads you to do it. And obviously, like, I would never compare my story to your ancestor's story because they needed to leave. I chose to leave.
They were being chased out of the country by pogroms.
Exactly.
Like that. That's just different. But yeah. I mean, so when my government tries to find an extraordinary artist, and there's a line of people outside an embassy. All of them are in berets, acting enigmatic.
Yes.
Presenting, wild ideas, representations, abstract paintings. Like, were you in competition? Are there a limited number of these visas? Okay.
Not this one, which is very cool. That's one of the coolest things about these extraordinary ability visas is that it's like, if you can prove that you're good enough for the threshold that the government has, you're good.
Great. Yeah.
It has like time limits. Like you can get it for 3 years, and then you can reapply every year, which is tedious, and expensive.
Right.
The biggest barrier to all this stuff is always money. I am very fortunate that I was born like upper middle class in Colombia. My parents were professionals. They had studied abroad. Like, this is a very particular life I had led compared to any other person born in Colombia.
So Nepo baby.
Nepo baby. Yeah,
fantastic.
None of
up top, Nepo baby. There we go.
Got to look after each other. That's how we become Nepo.
That's right. You got to keep the class, the upper middle class. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. That is lucky, and I don't know who's. It's kind of fascinating. It should be part of a screenplay or something that you're writing about who's judging who's an extraordinary artist.
I know. It's
like, what counts, what qualifies.
My immigration lawyer told me, like, it's you learn about these places. Like, there's a town that I want to visit because it's the town that adjudicated all my artist visas. It's this town in Vermont called St. Albans. St. Albans, Vermont, and it has a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, place, like processing center, and they process all those visas in the East Coast.
Okay.
And so it's this one town, and what my immigration lawyer told me was like, it's a group of people that they're just public servants. They sometimes they have a college education, sometimes they don't, and you kind of sometimes have to remind them, or you have to tell them what you did is a big deal.
Okay.
So like, you need to get like 10 letters of recommendation from artists who have worked with you, and you might have like the best improviser in the world or whatever.
They don't know who that is.
They have no idea who that is.
Right.
So you have to like give them like a little bio of the people writing your letters and stuff like that. You have to tell people, no, this is a big deal.
Right. Who's this John Mulaney fellow?
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Sure.
It's hard to quantify art too. So it's like, no, this artwork or this piece of art that I did actually was performed in a place that a lot of people saw it, maybe, or things like that.
Right. It seems like that was a good way to sneak in, is to say that you were a brilliant artist and have nobody be able to counter it, because art is so subjective.
Yes. I mean, but they do ask you to kind of quantify it. That was really interesting. It's like, how many, like, have you sold a lot of tickets for a one-man show? Have you performed at a gallery or been at have your art exposed in a gallery that also had other great artists perform? Right. So it's a weird way to try to quantify art, and I'm fascinated how they do it with sports. Because sure, there's like stats, but like just because you didn't go to the Olympics doesn't mean you're not an incredible athlete.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I say it as someone who is not an athlete at
Sure.
all.
Tell me about the Colbert Show.
Yeah.
What is it like? Are you like? Do they divvy it up like somebody does monologues, somebody does these pieces? Like, does everybody do monologues? Does everybody?
We all do everything.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's great. It's a great place. It's a fun, like, I think, to me, looking at the news, and I think this would apply to most late night shows now that they're also political. Sometimes the only way to deal with all of this is to just be able to, like, oh, I can sit around with my friends and write jokes about it.
Right.
So that's something that I really appreciate of the job. It's just like I get to just have fun, even though amidst the horrors, you know.
So I knew Stephen years and years ago, and he was a ball of energy. He was just a ball of energy. He was an unstoppable ball of energy.
Yeah.
To the point where people would say, like, get him into the next room sometimes. But brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Because I mean, you
Great.
have to say he's a good boss. I know we're
He's
talking publicly, but like blink twice if there's a problem. No, I mean
he's a great guy.
yeah.
He is incredibly kind and also a comedic genius.
Right.
Like it's one of those things where, you know, you'll write a joke and you're like, this is really great, and then he'll perform it and it's like he made it so much better. And he's a genius.
Yeah,
So-
he's whip smart. I like to say.
Yes.
He's whipped because he turns on a dime and he's
Yes.
fantastic. But he's also just smart. Like
Yeah.
the other part about it
Very
is, which
smart.
I like, is he's well thoughtful and considered. The Colbert report
Mm-hmm.
when he used to do that was so magnificent.
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean-
genius. And I can understand why it was a burden to play that character night after night. But it was so smart to sort of take it from the other side.
Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. It was a huge inspiration for me growing up
Yeah.
to watch that, and you know, Stewart's Daily Show in the original run, to be like, oh wow, you can just like do this. You know, it was one of those unlocking moments when you see a piece of art that you didn't know could be done.
Is there a mandate on the show, which would be if I was running the show, to not only have great moments of the show, but find things that we can make viral videos from? In other words, we need to expand our audience, not just from the late night thing, but we got to put stuff on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok.
We certainly have social media people,
Right.
and they run an incredible account. They do incredible work on social. I don't think there's necessarily a mandate. I think it's just like that's the reality of the business these days. It's like, well, it's the reality of late night. People aren't consuming it at 11:35 p.m.
Right.
in their homes. Like some people are. They stayed on. They kept the TV on while Tracker was on. you
Right.
know? But the majority of people are consuming like clips on social, be it like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. So I think it's not a mandate. It's just what the show is. So you have to be thinking of like, I don't necessarily think of like, is this clippable
Right.
when I think of writing a joke, but I think it's just how it informs your writing, just because that's how you watched it. Like I kind of like grew up with the transition of like tuning in to, I'll watch it the next morning on YouTube because
Right.
I'm not going to stay up. And so I think that just knowing by watching the form of delivery, it informs your writing just
Yeah.
by doing that.
I mean, because it does. My friends who work on late night shows are all saying that we get, a couple 100,000 viewers at night,
Yeah.
but the real audience
Yeah.
is out there. Millions of people are watching the next day and on different clips and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think your kids, assuming you have kids
I
someday,
don't have them.
assuming you have them someday,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
if imaginary, they're
Yeah.
hypothetical children.
Yes.
What would you want them to have from your immigrant perspective that and still maintain within them if they're born here and American citizens?
I think the biggest thing is knowing that they come from two cultures, that they are American, that they were born here, but that their home is also Colombia. And I think that's something that we discussed with my wife is like, if we have kids, like the whole summers in Colombia is like a thing. Like we want to do that. We want them to know their culture and their language. I think it's important to me that they are fully bilingual
Right.
at least.
At what age do they have to join a cartel?
Well, they should follow their dream and really like think about it, and don't go into a cartel just because, you're 18.
It's what everybody does,
you
right?
know,
Yeah.
like follow the dream. You know,
Sure.
sometimes cartels are not for everyone.
No.
I didn't go to a cartel.
No.
You know?
Sometimes
like,
medical school.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it.
Exactly.
I get
yeah.
it. They'll have the culture if they spend enough time there, for sure. But I'm talking about like spiritually. Like what if you could say, what is the spirit of, Colombia or Colombia that you have? Because I know I could sort of say the lazy spirit is the spirit of a lazy American. What's the spirit that you want them to have to carry with them?
I think, I mean, these are values that I think are good always. Curiosity, I think it's a huge value, but also like Colombians don't take things seriously. And I think it's because, and it might be a Latin trait, because when we come from a country where, like, again, consequences are hard to come by and horrors happen often. You kind of have to like be a little silly.
Do horrors happen often?
Yes, in Colombia. Yes.
Okay, and did you witness a lot of horrors?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I grew up in the 90s in Colombia, which was a much, much more turbulent and violent time than it is now. Like now, it's much better. It's a really great place to go vacation. It's a really great place.
Did you get traumatized?
I think so. Yeah,
All right.
I think there were some. There were car bombs. There were kidnappings. Times where it was like, well, maybe we shouldn't go on road trips.
From your bio in your book, it seems like your cushy upper middle class life. I didn't know. That's amazing.
No, I mean, I very lucky compared to like most Colombians, right? But yeah, in my family there was a person who was kidnapped by like a Marxist guerrilla group that claimed to be a Marxist guerrilla group fighting for the people, and it's just a cartel,
right?
So
would they survive?
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I've had friends who were kidnapped and killed, so I know what that's like.
Yeah. So it's a country that I think we have worked very hard to make it better. Yeah. And I think no one wants to go back to those days. And I think the cartels are a plague. We consider the drug trade like one of the worst things that has ever. It's a curse upon our nation. Cocaine, and it would be great if y'all would stop consuming it. I mean, really specifically the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah. Although I grew up here, I don't see cocaine.
No, I mean, I think it's a very particular club of people, but they really love it.
Yeah.
They really love it,
Sure.
But it is one of those things where it's like, this is 100% a consumption-driven economy.
Of course, yeah.
So I think we who have witnessed the horrors have developed a some people would call it makes you inure to it, but I think it's just a way to react, and I think laughter is a way to react that isn't crying. You're eliciting emotion from people.
Right, but doesn't growing up in what amounts to a moderately dangerous situation also either make you appreciate life or also seem to give you the sense of, well, we better enjoy now because we don't know when now ends.
Exactly. And I think that creates a lack of seriousness in life, a silliness in life in front of most situations that I really appreciate that. And I think I am a professional comedy writer, and I think I am the least funny person in my family in Colombia, because everyone is just so quick and so funny because that is the way to survive, right? And so I think that is something that I would like my kids to have, that kind of like, we gotta laugh at life.
All right, well, now it's time for listener mail.
Now it's time for listener mail.
The listener Jeremy writes, if you could live in a country besides your own, where would you choose to live and why?
Well,
okay, so now and it can't be the United States, it can't be Colombia for you.
Okay,
it has to be another place.
Well, curiously, I've been thinking about it a lot recently.
Yeah, sure.
My sister lives in England, and I have, as I said before, I'm anti-monarchic, so I have a problem with that. But I would love to be close
That's
to.
not really a monarchy anymore.
It's
That's
true.
like
It's like a play. It's a play monarchy.
It's like you were to Disneyland when you were a kid.
Exactly.
Mickey Mouse isn't really running that place.
What? I went yesterday, and he was on he's in the
Right.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would like to be close to my sister, but I went to Spain for the first time like 3 years ago, and I'm not a particularly woo-woo person, but I am very much like a mutt. Like
Yep.
my last name is Medina, which is an Arabic word, but also like if you're Hispanic, there's a very high possibility that you have like in your DNA like a Sephardic Jew who was forced to convert, and then but also native and whatever. But I
Also,
went.
you may be related to the funky cold Medina.
Exactly. We are actually cousins.
Sure.
We have a group chat. But I think there was a like weird. I went to Spain to like for the first time, and I did feel that weird like vibration of like this is the motherland, kind of like
Right.
something in me was like, oh wait, this feels weird. So I think I would like to live in Spain, but I don't think I would like to work in Spain because I don't think they work too much. They seem to just have fun. And I think I'm not built for that much fun.
Oh, I would be built just for that much fun. It seems like one of the reasons I have not been to Spain is I don't think I'd ever leave.
It is the highest risk, I think, of going to Spain.
People love it. People love it. I've had
really
friends move
great.
there.
It's really great.
That's a great answer. My answer to Jeremy is where would I go if I couldn't be here? And I don't know. I mean, I guess this is going to sound dumb, but like New Zealand?
Oh, that's nice.
New
That's
Zealand
great.
seems awfully pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, awfully pretty. And it's got a few actual cities. But
Yeah.
it's just filled with nature and beauty and hiking and everybody there seems so happy.
I would do it if they let me live in the Hobbiton set. Like
Right.
if they let me live in Hobbiton, I'd be like, yeah, I'll move to New Zealand.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean but who knows? That's I don't see myself leaving anytime soon, but a lot of my friends talk about going somewhere. So so that's good. Well, tell us the name of the book again is
America Let Me In: A Choose Your Immigration Story.
and why should we all read it?
Because everyone has a freaking opinion about immigration, and everyone's like for or against, but they're so loud about it and they don't know anything about the system. And this book breaks it down, and it's funny and it's really silly, but also actually teaches you a little bit about the system.
Fantastic. I can laugh and I can learn at the same time.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Well,
Ideally.
ideally. Well, they didn't send me one. You know,
Oh,
they didn't-
my God.
They didn't send me one, so I'm gonna have to buy it.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna go buy it. I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna go on Amazon. I will buy it, and then I'll read it, and so then I'll be informed.
Well, thank you for that, Jay. I can bring
It's
you
been
a copy.
a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
This is
coming
so
to
fun.
the West Coast briefly to see this Disneyland, whatever reason you're here. But it was really, really cool meeting you, and I'm really proud that you've come here and found some really great things about this country,
Thank
not
you.
just shitty things.
No, this country's great. We don't need to make it great again because it is already great.
I agree. I agree. And thank you for being here and for watching. And please subscribe to this show on YouTube or wherever you see it. Tell a friend if you like it. And don't be alone. Spend some time with somebody. Get to know. I didn't know Felipe until I just met him, and he's really cool. So you spend some time with somebody, and we'll see you next time.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.